freedoms are being taken. It is time for history to repeat itself and stand. Black Robe Patriots. Your host, Dr. Cindy Flowers and Pastor Ladina Boo.
Good morning. It's Ladina Boo from Stockton, Missouri, and we're broadcasting from Springfield, Missouri. And then my lovely co-host here. What's your name? Who are you? Oh, now you have no volume at all, sweetheart. I can't hear you. Okay, she's now resetting apparently. Okay, my co-host is Dr. Cindy Flowers, and she's up there in Michigan. And today we're going to change things up a little bit. We're going to
enter the frame for a second, just as part of it, anyways.
Yeah.
While she's doing that, because I'm a professional.
Okay.
Her name is Cindy, not Sydney, and I don't know why that didn't save the last time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully she comes back because I'll miss my boo here. Okay. We got an extra in. Are you there now? I'm still not hearing you. Technical difficulties. Oh.
She's probably got to unmute herself or fix her. She's like, just one moment. Here we go. And we're black.
We're black again. So, okay.
On her end.
We're trying to get Cindy in here, but like I say, Cindy Flowers from Michigan, Waterford, I believe. I don't know. She's moving now. And so today we're going to talk about the Eighth Amendment, and then we're going to do a little section each week on prepping. If you've not paid attention too awfully much, they're trying to take all of our rights away, and they're also trying to cut down our ability to buy meat. And you've seen shortages in the grocery stores and everything. And so unless you want to be in that group of people that wants to eat bugs, you need to start prepping now for the things that are coming.
She said she's rebooting.
Oh, okay. My friend is rebooting her computer right now, so I'm sure she'll be here. But let's see. On the Eighth Amendment, it says, excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. It all sounds really good, doesn't it? Whenever we get into the excessive bail and so forth, a lot of times you find that rich people get higher bail amounts, and if you don't have much money and so forth, well, then you get a lower bail amount depending upon what you've done, which is good. You don't have to sit in prison forever. But are you back now? Oh, there she is. I can hear her. Yes, I can. Thanks for joining.
Hello. I am back.
Hi. Yeah, well, you were there, then you were gone, then you were there. I was so confused. Anyway, I just read the Eighth Amendment to everybody while you were gone.
Yeah.
We have a good time doing this show, but we do run into technical difficulties once in a while. And, we've...
Yes.
With our other shows, we seem to have irritated quite a few people. So, we're trying to broadcast wider so people don't find us lost.
Yes.
Yeah, we've had issues lately with people trying to hack.
Okay. And we are talking about
the excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. Okay, there's there's issues with that excessive bail. Sometimes people can't afford to pay bail. And so, in that respect, our government seems to have gone a little bit crazy, and a lot of our cities and states and so forth are letting the lesser offenses, as far as the penal code is concerned, get out with no bail. I mean, they're just walking the streets. They go out and beat somebody up, and they just slap their wrist and put them back out on the street. I think if you've done something wrong, you need to pay bail in order to get back out. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
ritual.
exactly.
And
The,
then
the the cruel and unusual punishment is what we're seeing more now than ever.
mm-hmm.
With
We've
the
got
way
those J6ers that are
gaming,
sitting in with, the J6ers, they're sitting in jail with nothing. They got a bucket. And they've got a small room that, my closet is bigger that they've got them housed in. And so I think that, what's it been? Almost 2 years now since January 6th. And we've still got people
yes,
that are sitting in jail with no bail or anything. They're just kind of stuck there, and nobody's doing anything to rectify that situation.
exactly.
And
They're
I
just
think
they're
that,
just sitting.
go
Some are
ahead.
just waiting trial. They're still
Uh
waiting
huh.
trial, and then there's the ones that are, and they're getting absolutely outrageous sentences, taking a them, and you 22 years for 22
Yeah.
years for taking down. I'm like, what do you apologize for it? But they want to uh, tribute Enrique to uh, January 6th when he was not even in Washington, D.C. then.
Yeah.
But
They're
yet,
doing
2 years.
2 years and you can't get a trial yet and you're still sitting in prison. Um, that's uncalled for. And, the things that they're trying to get them for, all this insurrection and so forth, a lot of them were not involved in anything that created a problem. They went into the house and so forth. That's the way it goes. They went in there and they probably shouldn't have, but they had the right for assembly and they had the right to have their voices heard. And if you go and you have the opportunity to see all of the footage from January 6th, you'll find that they are persecuting people for no purpose whatsoever.
Exactly. That's what. And if you see, they forced their way inside. The police, the DC police on the inside, were opening the door and saying, "In." You, as soon as you seen that, oh, this is a setup. This is set up big time, and this is all of these amendments we have been reading of late. They're all extremely violent.
Mm-hmm. We have got to understand our Constitution. We have got to understand everything that's going on in Washington, D.C., when we have those people who want to make Washington, D.C. our 51st state. No, our founding fathers put that outside of any state so that they could not be influenced. It was a free 10-mile square area where we didn't have to worry about um, them getting all their liberal people into the Congress or the Senate or wherever. And, so there's a lot of things that they're doing right now. And if you don't know the Constitution, then you're really in world of hurt because you won't figure out what they're doing and you don't know what your rights are. And, we have got to be able
Exactly.
to understand that. And that's why Cindy and I were very
Exact-
adamant about doing this show.
Yes, yes, and I want to, because I know Ladina, Pastor Ladina feels the same way. When you see people, I don't know, he's a mayor, governor, what this person is, in Oregon, they they were praising her because she to be teaching reading, mathematics, or writing
Hmm.
to the minorities and the illegal people of people of color, because too hard. They don't want to. You know what that is? They don't want them to learn. The same thing happened if you go way back during the time of slavery. It was a big deal to not let them learn how to read. You get in big
Right.
trouble. You would get punished for it. And they don't want them to know how to read is because they don't want you to know this. They don't want you to know your rights. They don't want you to read the Constitution and know what they're telling you or what they're going to do to you. So you walk around and you're going to have somebody, what is this? And that leaves you open to anybody could tell you anything, and you're left to
Hmm.
your own demise. Believe it. Don't don't think it's a good thing when they tell you they won't teach you how to read and write. Also telling you, they're also insulting you and saying just because you're of a different color, you don't have the intelligence. You should take
Yeah.
that as an insult.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's what they need to be focusing on instead of trying to say, oh, you owe me this or you owe me that. Um, I'm going to say this right out loud. We don't owe you
Mm.
anything. Okay. Maybe you had a great, great, great grandmother who was a slave or something like that. And now you're sitting around hollering for reparations. I'm going to tell you, nobody alive today was in the Civil War. Nobody alive today was held under slavery in those conditions and so forth. And so, consequently, if you were not a slave, you do not demand reparations from the rest of us. That's insanity. We've got enough issues in this country without that.
Exactly, exactly. And there is indentured slavery going on right at this very moment, that people are being enslaved, trafficked, and enslaved. Just sex trafficking, but
Hmm.
workers that are being taken, they're being stripped of their identity, they're being sent, bought, purchased to be a landscaper, someone's maid in their home, and have you, and you have nothing. You're stripped of nothing. You
Hmm.
become an indentured slave. What about those slaves? What about now? That's real time slavery right there.
You know,
And the
when they put our
sweatshops,
children in,
children.
you know, well, I know they just shut down a chicken processing plant here because the people that were coming in and cleaning the chicken processing place were all minors. We have laws against minors working in certain areas. A logging company I heard a couple of weeks ago, they got shut down because a 16-year-old fell into a chipper and he died. And they're stepping on our rights. If you don't know the laws and you don't know what our constitution says and you don't know the protections in there, you need to be aware. You need to read it. You need to make sure you know what's going on.
Amen. Amen. Now, if you're going to take anything away from this, from our show here, take this away. Knowledge is power. When you know your Constitution and what we will be teaching you here on the shopping day, take notes, learn about it, because all this knowledge, you don't think you need it today or right now or tomorrow, but guaranteed you're going to need it. to need it. You need to know what your rights are, and you're going to need to know how to prep, because that
Right.
time will come. Even if it's a bad storm. So I
Mm-hmm.
do my power's out for 3-4 days. What do I do? This will help you. Knowledge is power. Do not let anyone keep you from learning to read, learning to write, keep you from library, reading books, good books, not
Not the one, not
books that
genderqueer or
they're
things
pushing
like that.
right now.
You know, read books that give you information. You know? Yep. I know
Yeah,
that Matt and I were talking earlier because he wanted to learn to can. So it's like, okay, fine, go to the library book and get a book on canning, you know, because he's seeing the signs also that, you know, we're looking at a major breakdown in our society because of the elite trying to tell us what to do and what we can't do. And I'll tell you, if any of them show up at my house and try to take my cows, I'm probably going to be in jail. Okay.
yeah, yes, there's gonna be so we're gonna have to distribute us across the nation because people that are coming against us. But yeah, that is fearful. This is why we're together to help you. And
Hmm.
people, you're going to realize and need to know about the Constitution. I know some of you say Constitution is outdated. Oh no, it's not. Do you realize that this Constitution is keeping everything at bay?
Yeah.
Otherwise, if we did not have it, where do you be right now?
Yeah. And then you've got to understand also that our Constitution grants us certain rights and everything. And our president, I don't know, our president and a number of presidents before him have set up all these little administrative things, you know, the Department of the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, or the Education Department, and all of these other little things. Well, they let those places put in these rules and tell you what you have to do, but they have no authority to tell you that. You know, we're wandering around under this administrative law instead of our Constitution right now. They're trying to just squash the Constitution completely and put us under this all these administrative rules, you know, wherever they're coming from, and that's dangerous. You know, we cannot fight against executive orders and so forth, except to ignore them, walk away from them.
Yes,
You know, he doesn't have any right to tell you what to do.
exactly. And mandates, as I said last week, um, mandates, executive
Hmm.
order, they're not us. We do not live in a kingdom. You can't make anything. You are not a king. Okay,
Right.
that is a law. So if they have a mandate, yeah, that's not a law. That's
Hmm.
not a law. You don't go to jail because you didn't follow a mandate or you broke a
Hmm.
mandate. No,
Well, they tried to throw
that's
you
that.
in jail.
Yeah. They're overstepping, overreaching, you know, and I think that they're just making a mockery, absolute mockery out of this country. I mean, now they want to change the dress code. They want to change the dress code in the Senate, in Congress, so you can to appease one person. When that one person, if you are in the Senate now, this is how we dress. If you were to go to a certain school, they had a school code. Well, then you'd have
Hmm.
to follow the school code of dress attire, and but no. So people up as a bathrobes, bare feet, pajamas. I mean, the
Oh,
world
you
is
saw him
laughing at
too.
us. Yeah, yeah, man, yeah.
I really appreciated him going in his red bathrobe and barefoot, you know, in order to protest that changing the dress code. I thought that was extremely amusing.
Yeah,
But I saw
yeah.
an article
See,
where,
they're trying. They're
I saw where
just
some
trying to.
reporter was trying to go into various restaurants in Washington, D.C., dressed like Mr. Fetterman, and they wouldn't let him in. So why are we trying to change the dress code for our Senate just for one man who doesn't know how to put on anything but a pair of shorts and a sweatshirt?
Exactly. Exactly. Well, that's what they do. They like to appease. Let's give them everything that they want. And that's how they think that if they, give you everything you want, you'll pass their laws, their shit,
Yeah,
and you're with everything. Just give what they want. You realize in the end, what you want is not is a game. As you see,
yeah,
when you don't do child, what do you end up? What do you end up with if you give your child everything every time the child says, if you don't give me this, I'm going to scream and I'm going to throw a fit and I'm going to throw myself on the floor in the middle of Target or Walmart and scream until you get it, till you give me what I want. You're either going to have two parents, which I think, like Ladina, would not give in if she says
no,
no means no. That's how I
yeah,
feel. Or there's
I
parents that
train my
go,
children.
okay, okay.
Yeah, well, I trained my children from a young age, and they always understood whenever I turned around and they wanted something and they were going, Mom, 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 Mom. And I finally got them all trained up where it's like, if I say, we're broke, they didn't bother me anymore. It only took one little time of saying, we're broke, I can't afford that. And they gave it up. People are not training their children to understand what's going on and understand how to follow rules and understand finances and things of that nature. We're doing a great disservice to our children, and the public school system
Yes,
is destroying the children and our families. Because
yes, they
that's
are.
where they
Yes,
learn that
they are.
if mom spanks me, I can call DFS and get a case going and things like that. Our schools promote that.
Yeah, yeah. They think it's a good thing right now. You
Hmm.
think it's a good thing right now, but it's not because you're going to find out. Even back, uh, I was an '80s kid, so I grew up in the '80s, and I can remember the movie. You probably a lot of you have seen it, called Valley Girl, and the reason why I bring that up is because the main character, the girl, her parents were like hit, and they would say to her, "Oh, we trust you. Go ahead. You
Hmm.
could do what you like. We think you make the right decisions." And then she had a best friend whose parents would always be, I have to be home by this time. And the girl said, I wish that you would. She came in, didn't come in till morning. And they're like, hey, did you have a good time? And she's like, aren't you going to ground me? Aren't you going to yell at me? And she's like, my parents would ground me like your parents. I wish you would say, where were you all night? We were worried.
Hmm.
Kids need that because otherwise
Yeah,
think that you care.
yeah, kids likes that structure,
And
and they do much better when they've got structure. And I don't know. There's
exactly.
about the '80s they started putting people in timeout instead of smacking on the butt. But God put padding back
Yeah.
there for a reason. There is nothing wrong with spanking your child. Don't go overboard. Don't hurt them. Don't beat them. But a little spanking every now and then when they're younger would probably straighten out a lot of the things that we've got going on with our teenagers where they're beating people to death and everything else. We've got to put some structure back in our lives. And we've got to, that's another thing about
Exactly.
our constitution. We've got to have that structure, and we have to know what that structure says.
Man.
And if our congressmen and our senators are not paying attention to the structure that our founding fathers put in place, then you need to get rid of them. Get them out of there. Vote them out of there. Do
Amen.
not allow them to keep taking your rights away from you. and do not allow
Ex-
the administrative offices to come in. They armed all the IRS agents. Why? Why do the IRS agents need guns? They're doing so many weird
yeah,
things. It scares me.
that
So
contradicts their whole thing about guns. It's like, oh, guns are
mhm.
bad, but let me arm you with it. It's like, well, why? Why do you have to arm them for? Guns were bad. Oh, yeah, yeah. You don't
Yeah,
listen to any of that stuff, but yeah, the cruel and unusual punishment. No, you have a right to be treated properly, even if while you're in the system, even if you're sitting in jail, you have the right to be treated
hmm,
properly and not be mistreated. And you have the right, as we read, you have a right to a jury trial. And some people now not even getting opportunity. They're forcing them. You don't get one. Well, who says that? They're trying to usurp the rights and everything. And
yeah. Well, a
you
lot of it
really,
came down from the Patriot Act, and the Patriot Act is no longer in force at the moment, but they put in something else that is about the same. And if you go and look at the Patriot Act, that's where they got all the ability to listen in on your phone calls and watch what you're doing. And, you know, they're judging you before you even do anything wrong. They're keeping all these records on you. And, we've got to get
yes.
things like that out of our purview. We don't need those. We're adults here, okay? They forget that. They want to treat us all like children.
And they want to control, their need to control. Well, again, as I always say every week, the Constitution was made, every single amendment, the Constitution was made by people who were under all of that tyrannical garbage
Hmm.
ruled, and wherever they went, the English could come in and take your home if they wanted, just kick you right on the street. They could, you're sitting in there having fun, maybe shooting pool. They'll come in and gun face and say, "Get out of here! You can't be in,"
Right.
and beat you up. You can't put up with that stuff. So they under it. They know what it's like. So every one of these amendments here is there to protect you from the government. That's what the Second Amendment is for. Not only just to use as our self defense, but to protect us from the overreaching and of the government. It protects us
Right.
from that because you know they're not always, depending on who we have, they're not always the good people. They're not out for your best interest. They may seem like they are, but they're really not. They're
Yeah,
really
there's
not.
an underlying agenda on about everything they do. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we are putting the same people back time and time and time again, especially in California and places like that. Okay. They have lost all
Yeah.
touch with the reality of the citizens of this country. And so they're doing what they want to do and what, helps them out in the long run, whether that's to have more money
Yes.
from the lobbyist or whatever the case may be. But they're not looking after your best interest in a lot of respects. Now, we have a few good guys up there. Okay. I really like Josh Hawley, and because he's from my state. But, you know, there
Oh,
are
quit
others that
bragging, you lucky.
yeah, you just want Josh Hawley. I keep telling you to move to Missouri. But, the bottom line here is that, you've got to watch what they're doing. You've got to understand the Constitution. You've got to understand what it says. And then after you look at the Constitution, um, then pay attention to what they're doing with administrative things, because like the ATF is putting in a new rule where if you want to sell a gun out of your private collection to somebody, they say you're a firearms dealer and they want you to pay all these extra fines and things like that. They don't have the right to do that. Okay. But that's what they're doing right
Mhm.
now because our president allows it. And then we wanted to move on a
Exactly.
little bit. We're at 9:30 now, so we wanted to also start a little section on our show about prepping because I know every one of you's probably been in a grocery store and seen empty shelves. I know I go in my grocery store about once a month and there's absolutely no meat in the store. You know, they've cleaned out all the coolers, there's nothing there. And bread. And we all know what it was like trying to even get toilet paper during COVID. So, you
Yeah.
know, we had all kinds of stuff. So, we would like to make people prepared for the eventuality of, you know, the government saying you can't do this and you can't do that, and you know they try to put us under martial law and things of that nature. We want you to be able to prepare and get ready, uh, whenever they start. You know, I know my daughter called me the other day, and the electric company there was putting in a new plan, and you had to decide what plan you wanted for the electricity you use between 4 in the evening and 8 in the evening. And if you did not choose a particular plan to fit your lifestyle, well, then they would automatically put you on one. And those plans would up the electric rate for what you were paying dramatically during those 4 hours. You know, I don't find that to be right. We don't have rolling blackouts in Missouri. You know, I don't understand why they're doing this, but they're overstepping in so many areas. And so, in that case, you need to prepare for the eventuality of not being able to get electricity or not being able to get fuel or not being able to get groceries in your store. So we were going to start today with
Yes.
50 emergency items you should always have in your house. And, there's more, but this is a semi brief list. You know, 50 is kind of a big number, but it's a semi brief list considering everything that you have in your house and everything you do. You know, and they're pretty simple actually. You know, a flashlight, you know, keep flashlights around your house. So, and the batteries, so that, or even the little headlamps like you see all the Amish people or hunters using, so they could go out and hunt for deer and things like that. And lanterns. I have a lot of oil lamps in my house. You know, you need to have a light source that is not dependent on the electric company. And then you want matches,
Yes.
especially waterproof matches. You know, you don't know if you're going to have to light a fire or, they've shut off all your gas and you have to figure out how to cook a meal for your family, and or you have no electric if you've got an electric stove. Um,
Yes.
let's see. You want to
Yes.
always have spare light bulbs in your house. In case the ones you're using are burned out or you can't get new ones at the moment. And a generator. If you can get a generator, I know some of them are rather expensive, but if you get a generator, then you are being able then to, run your refrigerator, run your deep freeze, and things of that nature. So that, or especially if you've got health conditions.
Yep.
My husband, before he died, was on oxygen all the time. And if the electricity went out, he had to use a bottle of oxygen. And that was very distressing for him because he used so much oxygen, he could go through a big bottle of oxygen in like 2 hours. And so if the electricity was off
Wow.
for very long, that was a major issue in our world. And, you know, I was always on the phone going, I got a hospice patient here. I need the electricity. He's on oxygen. You got to do something. And so they did give us priority treatment as far as getting our electric back on. But, even at that, sometimes it would take a day or two to get it. And if that was the case, I had to take him to a hospital. And so, these things are, you've got to think them through and try to prepare for them in advance. Hand
Yes.
crank radio.
Yes.
Hand crank radio, so you can get weather alerts and you can figure out what's going on if we're in a national disaster, you want to know what's happening.
Exactly.
So,
I would invest. I would invest in camping gear, the iron camping gear, pit. If you know where you are, where you have the ability to have camping utensils you have to use for a fire.
mhm.
Also, suggest too solar solar thing as well. You can use
Yeah.
because that helps too. You don't have to if you if you can't get a hold of batteries, if they go into the store and there's like, oh my gosh, there's no batteries. You have solar. So that's another
Mhm.
alternative as well. Um,
Yeah. And then let's see, number 6 on my list here. I have respirator masks or gas masks. Um, we've seen so many environmental disasters lately. We've had all those trains derailed and all these horrible chemicals up into the air. Or if you're in the event of another pandemic or chemical or biological attack, you want to make sure that you can breathe, okay? Get yourself some respirator masks or gas masks. You can go to health medical supply facility and so forth and get respirator masks a lot, or you can go to the paint department of any hardware store, because a lot of the painters use the respirator masks.
mhm.
Gas mask, that's more of an army surplus item, unless you have a grandson like mine, because he's got 2 or 3 gas masks. My grandson is actually planning for every eventuality. He's got his bug out bags all together. Um, Fire extinguisher. Make sure you've got a fire extinguisher around, because whenever things start going down and maybe the power comes back on for a minute or something, and you've got sparks or somebody knocks down the power lines and things of that nature, you want to be able to put out a fire so that it does not get to you. If you're a hunter,
Yes.
you're gonna know what I'm talking about. Hand warmers, little tiny packets that crush, and you get your hand warmers. You don't want to end up with your extremities freezing in a certain situation. You're also going to want essential
Yes.
hygiene items. You don't want to spread disease. So you want to make sure you've got lots of sanitizers or soaps and things of that nature, all those essential hygiene items.
Yeah.
Insecticides. Insecticides are important. You want to keep them at your house. So if there's a lot of pests or there's diseases that are being spread by various creatures, little crawly creatures, you want to be able to kill them. Okay. Get an insecticide. A stun gun. Okay. My granddaughter will be 20 next month. And I have always made it a point from the time she started driving that I gave her a stun gun in case somebody was trying to attack her in some fashion. I wanted her to be able to get away. So it's a nice self defense device, um, especially in the case of looters trying to steal something from your property. Uh, we're seeing civil unrest
Yes.
in our nation many times, and you have to protect yourself, even if it's just a stun gun. If you don't like real guns, a stun gun will at least probably get you the time to break away from whoever is trying to attack you and maybe push them back out the door. I know I had a stun gun once, and my son got really froggy and said, well, try it on me. And I did, and my son was 6'4", and he sat right down on the ground. Okay, that stun gun
Yeah.
put him right down. Moist towelettes. If you don't have a sanitizer, moist towelettes can do a trick by sanitizing dirty surfaces or something of that nature. Moist towelettes, they come in handy. Always have bleach. I know a lot of people don't wash with bleach anymore, but it is a disinfectant. It kills bacteria and fungus. It kills viruses. If you have water that
Yes,
is, you know, on the edge of whether or not it's going to be good for you to drink, you can put a little chlorine in that water and, clear up a lot of the um, viruses and stuff that are in your water, especially if you're having to go out and get water from like a stream or a lake or a river or something like that. If most of us, if we don't have electricity, we're not going to have water. And then always keep a first
exactly.
aid
So,
kit.
yep,
You know,
yep. I was just going to say,
because that's going to contain various medicines and scissors and tweezers and antiseptic and thermometers and petroleum jelly and antacid and laxatives. You want a very extensive first aid kit in your house. And, you need to make sure that you know how to use it. Now, if you are familiar with any kind of first aid tactics, you're going to find that first aid kit is not going to have everything you need in it. You're going to have a needle and thread. What if somebody gets cut and you have to sew up somebody's body because you can't get to a doctor or something of that nature? You're going to need more
exactly.
than probably than what's in your first aid kit, but you need to have one. It's at least a starting point. Now,
Yep.
this one, medicinal seeds. Pardon me, I had this cough for 2 or 3 days. I myself have 4 raised beds at my house that I grow medicinal plants. I'm convinced that we're not going to be able to get our medications um, from the pharmaceutical companies when things go really bad. We're not going to be able to get out and get what we need. But if you invest in herbal remedy books, if you look at prepping
Yes.
books, there's hundreds of them out there. And if you can grow
Yeah.
your own medicine, then you're that much further ahead. There's certain trees you can eat every part of them, and the leaves and everything are good to um, make various medicines from. I grow chamomile. Chamomile is a great thing to grow. You make teas out of it or tinctures or whatever.
Yeah.
Learn how to use those plants. God put everything on this earth that we need. And people
Yes, he
forget
did.
that.
Yes, he did. Yeah. Yeah, they
Pepper
do.
spray.
I am. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, go
I have
ahead.
that. I I was just, I was just going to say that I'm very on the different natural medicines and stuff. I will, as much as possibly can, I stay away from any opioids or anything else,
Hmm.
painkillers, anxiety, all that. Yeah, I do. I do believe in medicinal cannabis because medicinal is done in a whole different way than you
Hmm.
would like getting it from somebody. It's completely different. Different. It's made for your illness, whatever that you're going. It's made sometimes liquid, sometimes a tincture. Like cough or cough syrup, whatever. Uh, Stuff like that. Um, the CBD
Hmm.
takes the place of depression, antidepressants, anti, for anxiety and such. It's good to invest in grown hemp.
Hmm.
Just
Yeah,
think of
and
it.
they outlawed
Mean,
hemp in this country for a long time, but you can grow hemp again in this country. And
mhm.
as far as the opioids and stuff you were talking about, there's a plant. It's called wild lettuce, and they referred to it as frontier morphine because if you take the milk of this plant and so forth, and you um, get it into a tincture, it will kill pain as much as any opioid out there. This is a very good plant for killing the pain in your body. Learn the plants around you. I always tell people that if you starve to death in the state of Missouri, it's your own fault because you have not studied. There's stuff out there everywhere you can eat,
Yep.
and stuff out there
Not
you can put for
bugs.
medicines. Uh huh. We don't have to eat bugs. Don't listen to Bill Gates.
No,
Did I say that
absolutely.
name out loud? You know, they all want us to eat bugs. I'm not eating bugs. I have eaten crickets before, and I've eaten grasshoppers before, and but I made sure they were all chocolate covered, and I shut my eyes so I didn't know what I was putting in my mouth. But, I've eaten bugs. They're not that great, okay? That was the product of a Girl Scout and a man I was married to who was in the military, and he'd come back from survival training and talk about eating the bugs and stuff while they were out there. You don't have to eat bugs if you get yourself prepared, okay? Okay, the next thing on my list is
Right.
pepper spray. Keep some pepper spray around. It's good for attacking dogs. It's good for attacking people. If they're coming at you,
Yeah.
do whatever's necessary to protect yourself. And
Amen.
let's see, we're not going to get through all of these, but another item is a shovel. Um, you may have to dig down. You may have to make yourself a short root cellar to put part of your cool items in to keep them cool in the summertime and so forth. And in the eventuality that somebody is attacking you, you can get one of these small camp shovels, and if they're attacking you, you've got a weapon right there. You can use it to protect yourself. A shovel is important. And if nothing else, you have a place to dig a hole so that you can go to the restroom, and your family has a place to go to the bathroom, and then you can fill it all back in afterwards. A shovel is important. You've got to be able to have these things around. We're going to get up to
Yeah.
number 20, and
Yes.
then we're going to quit because we're out of time. I mean, let's see, spare home keys. If you don't have some spare house keys sitting around, and you can't, if you're like me and you don't know where your regular keys are part of the time, spare set of house keys that you keep in your pocket, no matter what you're doing. You can get back into your house if you need to. And a power bank. You know, it will help charge your cell phone or your flashlights and things like that, charge batteries. So you want some kind of a power bank in order to get things done. And then you need batteries, lots and
Yeah.
lots of batteries.
Lots
If
and lots
their
of
electric
berries.
supplies go down, you've got to have batteries. I know they're expensive right now. I've had to buy quite a few for my game cameras and stuff at my church. But in the long run, you're going to need them. You're going to want them if the power grid goes down. And let's look. Our power grid could go down at any point. They've had people trying to attack our power grid. If you had no electricity in your house, what are you going to do? We had a big tornado that wiped out our entire town in 2003, and people didn't have power for weeks. And they were going down to the lake to wash their dishes and things of that nature. This is not something about just our nation being attacked or our government trying to take things away from us or whatever. It could be a natural disaster, a hurricane or a tornado or anything of that nature. Prepare yourself ahead of time. And I'm not
Yep.
being a psycho person out here, going with conspiracy theories or anything. But, I have seen people I had a neighbor, she moved up from Florida, and she'd never been in snowstorms and ice storms and things of that nature. And she freaked out because we were without electricity for over a week, and she couldn't figure out what to do with all the meat she just bought at the grocery store. And it was so easy to tell her, Pam, stop worrying about the meat. It's 30 degrees outside, or it's, -5 outside. Put your stuff outside in the snow, in the ice, hang it up
Yes,
in a tree,
exactly.
whatever. You got no electricity. Stop thinking everything's going to thaw out in your freezer. Take it outside. God gave you a freezer.
Yes, yeah, yeah. When you think you see some, things out, like if you go like we have or like sporting goods and they have camping stuff, and you look at some and go, well, I won't need that. Oh, the solar this. Oh, I don't need any of that. Yeah, you do because you don't think you, but that's just as a trial run.
Hmm.
Go back to the how frantic we were. Oh, we don't have that. I would like, which sure that we will, is people laugh at how things used to be. People back in the day, a little house prairie and stuff, they used to do stuff. But honestly, if you learn that, if you remember how to do those, and you start making your own breads, you can run stuff, that you may be able to use oven, find another way. You can start making food without, having to, when you go to the store and there's nothing there. Oh, there's no
Hmm.
more bread. Well, then make some. I don't know how to make it. I don't know how to make bread. Well, you should learn
Right.
because,
Right. And one of the things that I want to touch on during this prepper series and stuff is I've got a lot of depression era recipes and natural things that you
yes,
can go out and get, because like you can make flour out of cattails. And I'm not talking about the furry little things that run around. I'm talking about the cattails that grow up in people's ponds and along creek banks and things like that. you know you can make flour from a lot of the plants that the Lord has provided for us, and you would not be so dependent on the grocery stores, because the grocery stores don't
amen.
care
Yep.
whether or not you starve. Okay, they want to make a buck.
Exactly. 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 And then, that's the one thing with COVID that when the bread was, I saw, I actually saw people buy flour,
Mm-hmm.
and and they were going to have to make their own bread. They were going to peel potatoes, and make, just buying instant and buying, excuse me, ready made stuff. It's like doing art of just making foods that you're gonna have to cook
Mm-hmm.
and learn. When Ladina starts bringing out some recipes, which I'm going to be writing down, make sure you have a pen and paper with you so you can catch some of these recipes as well to
Because like
help. And we're not,
during the depression, a lot of people um, ate what was called a water pie, and it doesn't really have much in it. It's got the pie crust and so forth, and it's got water in it. Of course, it's the water pie, but the way you bake it and the way you put it together, it comes out more like a quiche or something of that nature. And it's very inexpensive. When you've got nothing, you can still make something. What the world calls
yep,
nothing, the Lord gave you an entire world to work with.
exactly. Exactly. And we're not saying, we're not talking about this prepping to scare you. We're talking about all the prepping to prepare. God talks about that in the Bible, and He's giving us time, this sin, to prepare. So that
Right.
when something comes through, something read, and you read, you get that what happened with the Israelites. They prepared. That happened
Right.
with Pharaoh. The Israelites were untouched. They were fine. Every good because
Hmm.
they prepared.
Yeah.
So
And we should all be prepared. And that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to help you prepare because, like we've been doing, our Constitution has been under attack for quite some time. They've pretty much thrown it out the window and decided to do everything by executive order or administrative issues, giving control to these various entities that they put up, the Department of Education and so forth. Get rid of that completely. Okay, let the states decide what needs to be taught in the state. That's the way it started out, and that's the way we need to keep it. And this Department of
Amen.
Education in Washington D.C., they're not looking out for you. They're going with the flow of uh, basic insanity that has invaded our nation. We've got to prepare ourselves and protect ourselves because nobody else is going to do it for us. So
Amen.
anyway, we are out of
That's right.
town. Yeah, we've used up almost an hour now, and we'll see whether or not we get a message from the president later. But we like coming
Ooh.
on here and talking to you all, and we hope that you join us again next Monday. We'll touch on the Ninth Amendment at that point, and then we'll have more prepping issues to help prepare you for the eventuality of something bad happening around you. Don't be lost and confused in the world. Prepare. The Lord told us to prepare,
Amen.
so let's prepare. Anyway, thank you for joining me again this
Amen.
morning, and I'll talk with you soon, Miss Cindy. And everybody else,
Thank
thank you for joining us, and we will see you next
Amen.
week.
We'll see you next week.